Full disclosure, the voice you are listening to now is artificially generated, brought to you by satisphonic.com. See the link in the description for more details. What's an evil company not enough people talk about? Brookdale, the senior career-assisted living megacorp. Senior care in the US is fucking terrifying, and they're at the center of it. Abuse, neglect, drifting survivors into a state, locking deals. Brookdale is evil, and most of us will have to deal with them or someone like them as we're entering our most vulnerable adult years. As someone who works in senior living, I can confirm this. Brookdale is the largest senior living housing company in the country, and a lot of the time, they're poaching from others and offering bottom-rate apartments, and then jacking it up about $1,000 each year. Despicable. Got any sweet tips for those of us most likely dying alone someday? Live-in caregivers and hired caregiving can be more affordable than living in a facility. Crazy expensive either way. If you're in the US, a family member friend of the caregiver can be compensated through his fees for providing you care. Each individual is assessed and approved for a certain number of hours each week. If you do end up in a facility, being a patient of an outside agency that routinely visits home health or hospice tends to ensure you get slightly better care than other residents. You get care from the outside nurses when they visit, and the facility staff take better care of you because they visit, and the facility staff take better care of you because they don't want to get in trouble caught being negligent. I work for an assisted living in the Midwest US. Our residents pay $5,000 plus a month to live there. The nursing home that is adjacent to us is at minimum $10,000 a month. Getting old is expensive. I'm pushing myself off the Grand Canyon before I pay someone $10,000. Lol, like any millennials or Gen Zers are going to be able to afford to move to any retirement home. Pearson Viewy, did none of you go to college and shell out way too much money? Or take a standardized test? And all the stories of people taking exams at home and the proctor cancelling for stupid reasons, then people not being able to get their money back. Those exams are expensive. Is this the same parent company that publishes Pearson textbooks? If so, definitely an evil corporation. As if textbooks weren't enough of a waste of money for many college classes, they have been publishing these loose-leaf textbooks that are difficult or impossible to resell to get some of your money back, and they run an online homework portal that you have to pay extra for to unlock a key. Basically, it's an additional paywall just to be able to do homework and quizzes for a class you're already paying tuition for. Sorry, that's not correct. Your answer, Pearson Viewy. Did none of you go to college and shell out way too much money? Or take a standardized test? Correct answer, Pearson View. Did none of you go to college and shell out way? Did none of you go to college and shell out way too much money? Or take a standardized test? Lol, like any millennials or Gen Zers are going to be able to afford to move to any retirement home. The Susan G. Komen Foundation, the reason pink is everywhere for breast cancer awareness, is a crooked organization that not only pockets the majority of the incoming donations, but actively restricts other cancer research fundraising ventures. I believe they spend more money suing other charities than on cancer awareness, which is technically what they do because no one has ever heard of cancer. I always thought it was weird that their campaign was towards awareness instead of research or work towards a cure or better treatment. I think we're all well aware of breast cancer at this point. Noah Farmer, formerly known as Purdue Farmer. They are the main character of the opioid crisis. Purdue. Perude seems so fitting thought. Perude, shitstorm do. Working closely in the pharmaceutical business, it's always very funny to me when we get notifications of corporate name changes. They usually come soon after some major PR disaster. You mean the Sackler family owned Purdue Farmer? Having read Empire of Pain can confirm it's a company run by shitbags. Okay, Healthcare Corp of America, the largest for-profit hospital system in the country. World probably. Imagine if Walmart owned your hospital, that would be an improvement over here. Can confirm. Their laboratory practices are awful. They have no standards in releasing accurate laboratory results, and are too cheap to make sure their hospital laboratories have working equipment. Some things need to be kept frozen before use for testing, and instead they used a styrofoam box with dry ice. Speaking from Florida. I had a tire last year, went to an AXA facility. Also type 2 diabetic. They didn't let me eat or drink for 12 hours, then brought me spaghetti to eat, pancakes for breakfast, and then wondered why I was so sick to my stomach. Were they trying to kill you? Ignoring diabetic diets is way too common at hospitals, hospice care, and long-term care facilities. I guess hospitals figure what could one day hurt. If you're just type I and don't need insulin, but it's infuriating to me that it isn't taken more seriously for long-term stay. I remember when the crook who owned a 10-car built the state for millions. For instance, charging $39 for a Band-Aid, not the care involved, just the Band-Aid. The whole industry is damaged, from insurance all the way to supplier. We as patients have blindly accepted walking into a medical facility and having people tell us what to do, what we need, and then the bills show up later. Oh well, imagine going to a car dealership and they pick out a car for you and don't tell you what the cost is. It's ridiculous. It was kind of hilarious going in as a Brit. I was traveling and needed a doctor's appointment. Procedure in the UK. Phone doctor, get appointment, sometimes a challenge, I will grant. If necessary, get referred to a specialist. Procedure in the USA. Phone insurer. Get list of hospitals. Phone first hospital. Get told they don't in fact take my insurance. Phone second hospital. Get told same, but only after turning up. Flight to Texas work. Get told by third hospital, all told to me by my insurer that would be fine, all say they are not in fact fine. Phone insurer from hospital, go berserk on them and inform them that they are in fact paying this bill because I'm not going to a fourth fucking hospital. Get seen. Apparently, I was fine, but my blood pressure was a bit high, so I needed to be medicated. Asked how much the medication would cost. Found out it was expensive. Phoned my GP at home, told it's not that critical, just sort it when I could, and that the medicine is about a tenner a month in the UK. Get called by collections from the fucking hospital because of reasons, when I fucking paid the bill on the way out of the hospital, but apparently they forgot to charge me for something. Tell them to fuck off. Phone insurer, tell them that they did not in fact pay. Tell them that I will now be agitating for my employer to stop using them. Phone hospital, grudgingly pay balance. Claim costs from my employer. I spent at least 10 times more time talking to people about money than the doctor. Why the hell do you guys put up with it? It's a hard thing to tackle and wrangle the industry. It is frustrating. Even my mother-in-law, who works nurse exec VP, tells people that, unfortunately, you have to be your own advocate when it comes to navigating all this nonsense. And it winds up deterring people from seeking medical help. It's like trying to file your own taxes. We in the US need guidance just to try to avoid becoming penniless. My hope is that my son's generation will see some sort of universal healthcare here. It's ridiculous. You did that all wrong, step 1. Go to get treated, step 2. Follow no directions if I tell them that they are wrong and dumb, step 3. Don't pay, step 4. Hang up on collection. I used to work at the company that insures KI, and they were my account. I hate them with every fiber of my being just from that experience. They're 1,000,000% awful. We hear about them a lot in nursing. It's so weird that America treats healthcare as a commodity. Healthy people do things like go to work and contribute to the GDP. It's best to spend money and resources to make sure they can continue to do that. Paying directly for healthcare seems ludicrous. Yes, I realize it is funded through tax dollars in other countries, but that seems like a way better way to do it. Herbalife, absolute trash scam, ruining people's lives. This is unbelievably a true story. I worked as a labor and delivery nurse for 16 years. Had a young couple who swore Herbalife was the reason she got pregnant because it made her so healthy. She thought she was getting strong abdominal muscles from the supplements, but turned out that was a baby bump instead. I wish it stopped there, but it gets worse. After a day of attempting to breastfeed her newborn, she decided it wasn't working. Okay, no big deal. We discussed formula options. Upon their own review of the infant formula ingredients, they decided Herbalife shakes contained much better ingredients and nutritional value for their one-day-old. Everyone on staff, including their obstetrician and 2 separate pediatricians, told them absolutely do not feed these to you, infant. It was like talking to a brick wall. I am certain after they were discharged, that poor baby was given Herbalife shakes and got horribly ill. I still think about those dumbasses almost 10 years later. Thankfully, this is illegal, and healthcare workers are well within our rights to hospitalize this child and then either place them in foster care or make sure parents feed them formula and their livers and kidneys. Woman my mom worked with lost a ton of weight with Herbalife, started up a shop selling it, then ended up in a hospital with heart failure. completely decimating the Hispanic community too. Just sad, the exploitation. It's so weird that America treats healthcare as a commodity. Healthy people do things like go to work and contribute to the GDP. It's best to spend money and resources to make sure they can continue to do that. Paying directly for healthcare seems ludicrous. Yes, I realize it is funded through tax dollars in other countries, but that seems like a better way to do it. Value Village. They trick people into thinking they are a non-profit, take donations that could be going to people who need them, and charge insane prices. DuPont. Watched Dark Waters yesterday. Their controversy section in Wikipedia is long enough to be a novel. It's horrible, that Vompany, is that a combination of vomit and company? If I was a fraction as smart as you, yes. Unfortunately, it was just a typo. But I like where your heads are. DuPont just for their heir being a child rapist and not getting prison time. Say his name, Robert H. Richardsiv, child rapist. While we're at it, shout out to Judge Jan Jordan for letting him off with a suspended sentence because he would not fare well in prison. She was definitely paid off by his family, which is why all the DuPonts have got to go, and also their lack of give a fucks for the planet. Chiquita. Chique. Way too low here. Toppled a fucking government, as did Dole. Let's go ahead and throw Banana Republic in there for the association low. With the help of the US government, if I remember correctly. Wouldn't be a proper Central American coup without the usurper. BG. They've burned down California several times, killing a number of our citizens here. Then having the audacity to play money games with the families of the deceased or those who've lost homes. Fuck 'em. The wonderful company is also killing California, and nobody talks about it at all. Nobody should drink Fiji water, pom juice, California pistachios, etc. There's a great dollop about the whole situation for anyone who likes podcasts. Johnson & Johnson knew they had asbestos in their baby powder and still sold their products, causing countless cases of ovarian cancer and mesothelioma, and has fought tooth and nail to not pay out by putting its asbestos liabilities in a new subsidiary and promptly declaring it bankrupt, despite JJ being a hugely profitable company. Thankfully, that flagrant abuse of the bankruptcy system just got rejected by the courts. Elsevier established a near monopoly of academic journals, charged scientists to publish in them in the thousands, also charge the public to read them, subscription also in the thousands, convince other scientists to review the scientific content for free, exploiting younger scientists who need to build their KIU, basically putting a paywall on the results of government tax dollar funded research. Don't get me started on how major universities deal with STEM students. Bringing people in as students, make them work 40 hours a week in lab, purposefully misclassify them as students when really they're workers, apply for large government grants using data generated by these students, make them do all the grading for the undergrad classes, and then complain when the students are begging for Forticare. Instead, tell them they are lucky that as students they don't have to pay tuition to be there. At the end of 7 years of this treatment, they'll give you a fives cap. They actually split into two companies to avoid liability, abusing Texas corporation laws to create one company that holds the TALS-related liabilities and another that holds non-TALS assets and liabilities. The new company with the tort-related liabilities is the one that filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Just pure evil. Bayer knowingly sold blood clotting agents infected with HIV to Asia and Latin America, months after withdrawing them from Europe and the US. The former United Fruit Company, now called Chiquita, Tyson Foods, Cargill, National Beef Packing Company, and Jobs. Even if you guff about animals, they are pretty awful to the people who work at their slaughterhouses, and those four are like 85% of the market, so they also greatly exploit the farmers who raise animals for them. Cargill is a multi-billion-dollar company responsible for so many of our biggest issues today, from palm oil to deforestation, to factory farming, to child slavery, and nobody's even heard of them. Luxottica, pretty much a monopoly on the vision, care and product market. They own just about all fashion, eyewear and eye care outlets, hence the ridiculous pricing. Use Zenni. I went to LensCrafters. They said $600 for new glasses, but I got them for $20 at Zenni. De Beers, the largest diamond company in the world, has been exploiting workers in the world's poorest nations for 135 years. They also control diamond prices. Stop buying diamonds, people. It's literally just carbon. Pick a different stone. Sincerely, someone who worked with gemstones. They're not even that rare. De Beers keep so many diamonds locked in vaults so they can control the rarity. We can manufacture diamonds of better quality anyway, with nearly 100% less human exploitation and suffering. Wells Fargo's pretty shady. I've never worked for or banked with them, but they're pretty shady. It's amazing how every couple years Wells Fargo gets in trouble for doing something obviously and openly illegal. Then the government says, oh, no person did this. It's just the company. Let's slap a fine on them and move on. I thought corporations are people, only when it benefits them financially. Bank of America is right up there with them. Just got a gargantuan fine. I think 100 million for ODIAP violation. Yup. Worked at head office, can confirm. Was a teller and worked at a branch with a high volume of private banking clients, so the West Coast president often visited. I was there during the H crack. Watched high-level execs commend the branch manager for doing everything in her power to make sure bankers and tellers made their daily goals. They encouraged opening accounts without full transparency of fees or requirements. I learned Spanish to keep up with sales because the pressure was so high. I was a platinum teller. I made the daily wow. I consistently and ethically hit my sales goals, making gold 80% of the time I was there. I left the job because our branch manager was saying it wasn't enough. I needed to max out sales. She wasn't going to be paid if we didn't continue to sell, even though we'd hit our caps. She was sweet but ruthless, and the pressure was too much. I finally said yes on the 5th try after a customer consistently tried to poach me to his business because I was fed up. It was demoralizing listening to bankers tell us to sell credit cards to customers who already had their lines of credit maxed out because they could use the card for advances. I deadass helped someone pay their mortgage with quarters. Due to the time period, I was also there during the Wachovia merger, and their customers hated us. We weren't as easy to do business with. We've had all these big bank rules and policies that weren't customer friendly. I watched a lady damn near lose her house because the mortgage paperwork got lost during the merger, and her Wachovia loan officer was offered severance and no one in WAF would help her. I closed my team bank account when I left and never looked back. They suck. They suck. This is probably a personal bias, but United Healthcare, any health insurance company really, but this all stems from the United States healthcare system. Cigna makes me miss Ucius. I'll take a disorganized core any day over one that'll happily reject claim. Any for-profit health insurance company has plenty of blood on its hands, charging people out the ass only for non-doctors to decide what care is or isn't medically necessary to cover. For-profit death panels. I'll let you know when my unday is lifted in 6 months and 1 day. Edit, dang, did not expect this to blow up with people setting reminders low. I feel like you folks are going to be really underwhelmed because I'm 100% sure most of you have never heard of this gigantic multi-billion-dollar global conglomerate owned by one of the biggest private equity firms in the world because it's a niche field I work in. I'll give every detail I can think of to make it interesting. They are fucking their employees and clients over openly and proudly on a global scale. Autism Speaks Edit. Holy shit. Thanks for all the awards. I can't believe I have more upvotes than the post itself right now. I heard it was bad, but like why? Does it not give donation to actually help people? Please elaborate, as I'm not really integrated into the autistic community. They take the donation money and use it to pay their governing body and actors they hire to portray autism in their severely fucked fear-mongering ads and documentaries. The ads and videos are a whole different type of fucked on their own, so I won't get into it right now. Anyway, the little bit of money they actually give to people is completely minuscule compared to what they spend on themselves. They also only have like 2 or 3 actually autistic people on their governing board. Not to mention the extremely select few who actually get help are usually publicized to hell to show that they actually do help sometimes. Please. If you're happily married, I will make sure that your marriage fails. Your money will fall into my hands and I will bankrupt you for my own self-gain. I don't sleep, so I make sure you don't either. I will make it virtually impossible for your family to easily attend a temple, birthday party, or public park without a struggle, without embarrassment, without pain. You have no cure for me. Your scientists don't have the resources, and I relish their desperation. Your neighbors are happier to pretend that I don't exist. Of course, until it's their child. I am autism. I have no interest in right or wrong. I derive great pleasure out of your loneliness. Excerpt from one of their ads. Nice, right? Chimus. My co-worker was involved in part of their deal with the government to clean up all the shit they were spilling into the waters. They got a nice little $1 fine from the government and had to promise to clean up all the waste they'd been spilling. However, no one currently knew how to clean up all the waste they were spilling because it was phase, so instead of being responsible for actual cleanup, they got off the hook by paying a scientist, my co-worker, to research how to clean up their messes. They were very generous to our pie. Spoiler, it's all still there in the water, or probably in people by now. It's also Wacklow. Did you know they're a spin off of DuPont? DuPont wanted to keep making phase because they're sold and used everywhere, but Fuzz have some really bad payer right now. So they made Chemus as a protective shell to sell their shit without directly implicating the DuPont name. Comcast. They do not give a fuck about their customers. Oh, I see you've had your own modem for 4 years. Let's add an equipment charge and see if you catch it. Acme seem to have gone for decades, selling weapons of mass destruction, without much pushback or regulation, never edited a comment for the love before. So thanks for the love, my lovely. Their products frequently malfunction. On the bright side, they are a company that manufactures everything. Our mother trucker. That hit me like a budgie on a stick. I never saw it as an acronym. Ups. I have seen decisions made that have killed employees and then the supervisor responsible get promoted. I have seen managers get fired for removing time worked from time cards only to be hired back a month later. I have saw intentional OSHA violations on a nightly basis for years. I see supervisors relentlessly harass employees. Horrible company in every way imaginable. On the flip side, they are unionized, so their workers have at least some hope of representation, unlike FedEx. Goodwill. They are non-profit in name, only and pay disabled people sub-minimum wage under the guise of helping them. They also put literal garbage on the shelves and sell things higher than they were new. Some are worse than others. A thrift. Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. Blackstone. It's on more people's radars nowadays, but still not enough. The biggest landlord of them all. You wonder why your once affordable suburb now has 500,000 starter homes that virtually nobody can afford on the average local salary. Blame these guys. In fact, I'd say Airbnb, Vrabo, Redfin, Zillow, every company that adds nothing of value to the economy except artificially pumping up numbers on houses that the supermajority of Americans have been taught to think of as a riskless get-rich scheme instead of a basic human need. BlackRock, Koch Industries, Sinclair Broadcasting, Cisco, McKesson. The Mormon Church. Umbrella. BlackRock. They own almost everything, so if there is such a thing as an evil company, they'd own it.